وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر وعبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
And good morning, everyone. It's Friday, March 8th, 2019, and I'm Ray Hanania, not Layla Al-Husseini. I sit in on the second Friday of every month, and also I'll be here next Friday. So you're going to mark your calendars. We'll be talking about Middle East issues also next Friday. You're listening to the Arab Street Radio and podcast broadcast from Detroit through 690 AM WNZK Radio. I'm in Chicago, and we have a guest this morning who is on the line with us. We'll get to him in 1 second. You can join the conversation by calling 248-557-3300. You can listen online, obviously, and for those of you who hear us on the radio, you don't need to know that, but there is a way to listen to us online. You can go to hanania.com, Hanania. And if you're out, let's see here, we got 2 links where you can do that. You go to hanania.com and you can find the links anywhere in the world and listen to this radio show. The Arab Street Radio and podcast is part of the U.S. Arab Radio Network, hosted by Layla Al-Husseini in an effort to energize and empower Arab Americans to stand up for their rights. For more information, go to that website at hanania.com. Our guest this morning is Reverend Donald Wagner. He's a longtime activist for Palestinian and Arab rights. I've known this guy. You know, he's a young guy. I've known him probably about 40 years, going back to the 70s. Recently retired as the National Program Director for Friends of Sabeel in North America. He was a professor of Middle East Studies and director of the Center for Middle East Studies at North Park University in Chicago. He's the author of 5 books on Palestinian human rights, Christians in the Middle East, and Christian Zionism. Don, welcome to the radio show this morning.
Thanks, Ray. Good to be with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. We had a chance to get together this week because we had a visitor from Bil'in, which is this little village that's a David in a fight against the Israeli Goliath, I guess. They tried to build a wall back in 2005, and they actually built it by 2007 to cut right through Bil'in and took 60% of that farmland of this farmer's village. And the residents in Bil'in, they're very creative, they're very determined, they protested every week, and they ended up forcing the Israelis to relocate that wall to get most of, but I'm sure not all of, their olive tree groves back from Israeli control. But since then, a lot of the people like our guest that you and I spoke with and met with, Iyad Burnat, he's suffered a lot, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He, his family, and the whole village.
Have you ever been there? But you've been to Palestine many times, I know that.
Yeah. And
Linda, have you ever been to Bil'in?
We have visited that village virtually every year, taking mostly Americans there to see what's actually going on. And we participate in their marches after Friday prayers, where they go down and confront the Israeli military, and they're promptly hit with rounds of tear gas and sometimes live ammunition. There have been people killed. There's been a lot recently of targeted sniper shots at mostly some of the Shabab, the young people. And his own son, who was a great soccer player, was wounded in the leg, and now he's walking on crutches and had several operations. So that's just one of many. But there's 12 villages like this
Really?
Many of us know about Nabi Saleh and and Ahad Tamimi and the Tamimi family, who are much of the same thing. Their land has been taken by a settlement, and they resist it, and they're using nonviolent resistance.
Right. And Ahad Tamimi, she's also been very successful in raising awareness of what's happening at Nabi Saleh. And but when we say very successful, we also mean increased targeting, increased oppression, increased violence from Israel's government. I mean, in truth, it's just amazing. We live in this country, and all we hear about is violence by Palestinians. But the truth is, the violence is from Israel's government against the Palestinian civilians. And it's such a hard issue, to convey to Americans in this country. It seems so simple to understand, but they're like brainwashed. Yeah. And as Ihlan Omar accurately says, we talk about this, they weaponize anti-Semitism. So you criticize Israel, right? You become an anti-Semite. You donate money to Israel, and no one has the right to criticize that donation or imply that, a donation is for, political quid pro quo. I've never heard of anybody donating money for anything and not expecting something in return. But when she suggested that, she took a beating. It's just terrible.
Yeah, and I hope people, both the listeners, but also people across the country, just rise up now. We need to support Ms. Tlaib, who's representing Detroit, and she's under fire.
Rashida,
now Representative Omar, simply for really claiming that there's too much foreign influence and support by lobbies for a foreign government.
And that's a legitimate concern.
She is making a political critique. It isn't anti-Semitic, what she is saying.
Suddenly, right,
and,
it's anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and
listen, we used to say that in Chicago.
We really have to clarify this and separate these issues, because this is dangerous to our democracy. And she's being claimed of things she didn't say. And she talks about the pro-Israel lobby. She's not condemning all Jews.
Right.
There's many Jews, like our friends in Jewish Voice for Peace, who are standing with her and opposing this and calling for an open dialogue. But this is the one issue in the United States where you cannot have an honest discussion.
The Middle East, right?
Well, the Middle East, but Palestine in particular.
Yeah, Palestine. You're listening to the Arab Street Radio. I'm Ray Hanania. My guest on the line is Reverend Donald Wagner, and we're talking about Israel, the Middle East, Minnesota Congresswoman Ihlan Omar. I was pretty impressed by Omar's fearlessness. I mean, look, she took a beating the first time that she talked about the Benjamins, which I thought was a legitimate comment on her part. She says it's all about the Benjamins, baby. And I thought, wow, here's a hip congresswoman who's right on with the Middle East. And they turned that into anti-Semitism. They weaponized anti-Semitism and beat her up. And then she kind of apologized a little bit. And then she did it again, when she talked about loyalty. Who are these people loyal to? Some of them, not everybody. And they again said what? That she's attacking Jews, and she's not attacking Jews. It's unbelievable.
Well, let me read you her main statement that they're attacking. Yes. This was at a Busboys and Poet meeting, which is a cafe in Washington, D.C. She said, I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay for people to push for allegiance to a foreign country. That is what they're attacking her for.
Isn't it something? I mean, listen, they're attacking her because they're afraid, and they will use and distort and twist anything into whatever they want.
Yeah,
What's
and now
our response?
We have three, Ocasio-Cortez, and Ms. Tlaib, and now Omar, who are drawing others now to stand up and take a stand for legitimate democracy and a fair critique of the power of outside influence. AIPAC and others are on the attack.
Yeah.
And the thing we worry about is they're already planning. They'll run somebody against them in 2 years. This is what they do. So this is where it's up to us.
They play a little
game. We really
game
have to mobilize people and stand with these friends who are courageously calling out what's going on.
Yes. The Israelis play a little game, and I'll tell you how. AIPAC is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. They claim AIPAC doesn't actually donate money directly to candidates, but that's not true. What they do it indirectly. They have all these pro-Israel PACs that are in this AIPAC network. They get together every year and they listen not to, American officials. They get all these Israeli officials that come to their AIPAC conventions and they donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to Congress people specifically to get their loyalty. Why is it wrong to criticize that? I mean, it's a foreign country, isn't it? Israel is a foreign country, isn't it, Don? Or am I wrong? Did I make a mistake and miss something?
No. She said allegiance to a foreign country. That's what's going on. But, there's two other aspects of this, and she has been fairly careful about naming this allegiance to a foreign country or pro-Israel. And I think we need to use that in our language.
Yes.
It's not all Jews.
Right. Listen, the truth is we don't refer to Jews. We're not talking about Jews.
So
my wife is Jewish. You have friends that are Jewish. Yeah.
And there's another point here, Ray, that isn't discussed here, that now we have Christians United for Israel, which is now the largest pro-Israel advocacy group, and they are fundamentalist right-wing Christians and align closely with Mr. Trump.
Yes.
So
they're not really Christians, though.
It's
those are
pro-Israel influence, right-wing Christians, Christian Zionists, as well as the others, and they're all in it together on the lobby. The Kufi group are the ones who really mobilize people in November and December for the U.S. to move the embassy to Jerusalem.
Now,
they were working hand in glove with AIPAC and others, but that is their influence, and it's growing. So this pro-Israel influence from Christian Zionists also has to be named, and it's something that has to be challenged and stopped.
Don, let me ask you a question, though. Why? This is a point that I think we should consider. Why do we call them Christian Zionists? Because most Americans don't understand that we're talking about the most extreme end of the Christian movement in the United States, these evangelicals who really deep down don't believe Israel should exist long term. They only believe Israel should exist just long enough so that their version of what the Messiah or future will come. But when we call them Christian Zionists, I think a lot of mainstream Christian Americans who probably would identify with the Christian Palestinians and the Muslim Palestinians who are being oppressed by Israel, we kind of give them a little strength, though, don't we? They're not Christian; they're unchristian Zionists. We should call them something other than Christian.
Many of them are supporters of Israel. They claim Israel has a right to exist, but they support pretty much what Netanyahu wants: all of Palestine.
Yes.
So they are really a minority, however, even of evangelicals. And the press, really calls them evangelicals. They are fundamentalists. Let's be clear. Right. They are the extreme right wing of Christianity, and they believe what I call a heresy. They do not really stand with Jesus in the Gospels in terms of love for the poor and justice. They are not embracing justice at all. It's a one-sided exceptionalism of extreme Zionism. And it's an aberration. But now they have tremendous power. They have organizations in virtually every state in this country that can mobilize people to vote. And they coordinate with AIPAC and the pro-Israel lobby. So they are part of the pro-Israel lobby. And that has to be named and called out. So what these Congresspersons are doing is challenging this allegiance to a foreign power that has too much influence on our government. And now it's so you can't criticize it. To criticize Israel and criticize pro-Israel influence, they are making it anti-Semitism. And I think this is dangerous for the Jewish community in the long term.
I think a lot of Jews agree with you, and many American Jews who want peace, and we need to find a way to reinforce, our position with them. Jewish Voice for Peace is a great organization, but there are other groups like J Street and the New Israel Fund. A lot of these groups support, two states, peace, Palestinian rights, and with them we could talk. You can criticize government. That should be legitimate. I'm on the line with Don Wagner. He's going to stay on with us. We're talking about Ihlan Omar and the attacks against her, vicious attacks, and what I call the weaponizing of anti-Semitism. And we're going to talk some more about that, and we're going to talk about other issues. Don is kind of an expert on Christian Zionism. We're kind of going to get into that a little bit, too, because I think that's a fascinating aspect. A lot of Christians in America don't really understand that these Christian Zionists don't represent them either. Or they may be under the influence of, the Israeli lobby, which has everybody in a headlock when it comes to information. I'm Ray Hanania. It is 7:16 Chicago time, 8:16 out in Detroit. You're listening to the Arab Street Radio and podcast broadcast from Detroit, Michigan on 690 AM WNZK radio. We podcast this afterwards, which we'll be doing, and you can listen online. Go to hanania.com. We're going to take a break down, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit about some of these organizations and the BDS movement, which has been very successful, in part because of the support of many Christian organizations. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to be right back right after these messages.
If halal is important to your family, you can trust that Miramar will offer not only the highest quality halal products, but the best tasting and healthiest foods that can be placed on your family table with confidence. Miramar is the first and oldest halal certified food brand in America, serving the Arab and Muslim community, and offers a wide range of halal food products. Check out Miramar's halal food selection today by visiting Miramar's executive distributor, Ziyad Brothers Importing, at www.ziyad.com.
The Rama Relief Foundation provides humanitarian aid into areas inside of war-torn Syria, as well as aid to the refugees who have fled to the neighboring countries in the Middle East. The foundation offers food baskets, container shipment, mental health, education, soup kitchens, and more. Go to ramarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any donation amount made to Rama will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
It's all in one grocery store, and that store is Zamzam Fresh Foods Market. Zamzam Fresh Foods Market offers fresh vegetables, halal meats, a great fresh bakery, as well as nuts and spices and much more. They also offer special deals every Wednesday, so don't forget to ask for your favorite foods, as shish kebabs are ready to go. So please stop by Zamzam Fresh Foods Market at 24065 Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-476-0300. Again, that phone number is 248-476-0300, and they are open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Zamzam Fresh Foods Market is your one-place stop for all your grocery shopping needs and your favorite foods.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
Welcome back to the Arab Street Radio and podcast broadcast from Detroit, Michigan live. on 690 AM WNZK Radio in Detroit, in Greater Detroit. I'm Ray Hanania, your host. I'm here on the second Friday of every month. I'll also be here next Friday, same time, and we'll be talking about Middle East issues, interviewing somebody to help us understand what's going on. Because apparently, a lot of Americans need to be educated more than what they are. They're just not educated about the Middle East. On the line with me is Reverend Donald Wagner. He's a longtime activist for Palestinian Arab rights, and we're talking about a lot of issues. Don, before we continue with the Christian Zionism and the BDS and everything, let's go back to Iyad Burnat and talk about his tour, because I know he'd set up a fundraising aspect to raise money for not only one of his sons, who was, as you mentioned, had been seriously injured by the Israelis, targeted by the Israelis. I mean, they specifically targeted his kids as a way of influencing him as a leader of the protests in Bil'in. And it's on GoFundMe. So all you got to do is type in Iyad Burnat's last name, Burnat, and you'll come across, I believe it's Iyad Burnat. And you'll be able to donate to help. But Iyad wants to also create like an education fund, doesn't he? What was his message here? Because he was here for like about a week, wasn't he?
Yeah, just really a long weekend. And part of it is to set up a fund for some of these young people so that they can get a university education and then come back and be sustained and have a good job, but contribute to the community. And Majid is in Turkey right now, working at an engineering degree. But these folks come from a poor village, and it's a village, that's lost part of its farmland. It's a farming village. So he came to try to set up this fund to raise money for Majid's education, and he wants to expand it now because they have some other young men that want to go to university in either Palestine or abroad, and they just can't afford it. So that's what we are trying to help them with. And my wife and a few others here in Chicago put this page together to try to at least get some funds for Majid, because I think they have to have the tuition paid next week.
Right. And Majid, just to let everybody know, he was shot by an Israeli soldier. He and his father, I believe, went to a protest, one of these Friday protests, to support the people of Gaza who are being brutalized by the Israeli snipers. And then they left the protest. They got to their home. I think it was from a nearby village. They're in front of their home, and the Israeli unit pulls up. Now, Iyad Burnat is considered one of the leaders of the Bil'in protests. So they saw him and a commander of this Israeli unit, and they just don't care. I don't get it. They have no compassion for other human beings. Pulls out a gun and aims not at Iyad, but at his son, and shoots him in front of the father. I mean, I've never heard of that kind of cruelty. You read about it from World War II, and you hear about it in, when Stalin was, running everything in the Mao in China, and all the, corrupt leaders in Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge, the brutality. But this takes place in Israel every day in the occupied territories. And I didn't read about it. All I read about this week wasn't that, Palestinians are getting killed. All I read about was that Ihlan Omar was, quote unquote, anti-Semitic for criticizing and challenging Israel. Just seems wrong. What are we doing wrong, or what do we need to do?
Well, yeah, all that you said is true, and this young man paid a price, and that's in a way to get to the father. Now, many of the listeners may know about this village. You remember the film 5 Broken Cameras?
Right.
It's about this village. And Iyad's brother was the director, and it was up for an Academy Award. It was up for an Oscar.
It was nominated for an Oscar for Best Documentary, I think, in 2013.
Yeah.
2013, yeah.
Yeah, so that film is about their resistance and the suffering that they are going through. So, we hope we can encourage them. And this is a nonviolent village and a nonviolent protest. And I think we know that every Friday the Great March of Return takes place in the Gaza Strip. And snipers have now targeted and killed medical workers, protesters, young people, and and this goes on every Friday. And how many are? It's over 250 who have been killed, and something like 1,200 are wounded by snipers. 12,000 have been wounded by snipers, and all are documented. And finally, the UN has done an investigation, and the investigation is showing that there is criminal activity, and this is going to the criminal court.
Right.
But we know that the U.S. and Israel have blocked this over the years. So maybe this will go forward a little bit. But every Friday that takes place with nonviolent demonstrations.
And I was trying to explain to a friend of mine how it works at this Gaza border. They don't think of it. The media doesn't explain it right. The Israeli soldiers are right up against the border behind barricades with these long-range sniper rifles that can shoot anybody almost a mile away. And then the fence is right up, the wall or the fence is right up to the Israeli soldiers. And then 300 yards away, 300 yards, are the protesters in Gaza, on the Gaza side of the fence. Just to explain to the Americans that I was talking to yesterday, I said, listen, imagine this. Imagine they said that the Palestinians are throwing bombs and rocks and stuff and Molotov cocktails at the Israelis from 300 yards away. I said, if you could have somebody who could throw a football 300 yards, they would be a Super Bowl champion. But no quarterback can throw a football more than 80 yards. Nobody. It's impossible. You can't throw 300 yards. So these protesters are picked off without really being a threat to the Israelis, and they're shot in the head. I think 38 of those casualties were children, intentionally targeted by a sniper rifle that is very precise. It's not an accident. Yeah. And they shot, I think, 2 medical workers that were, nurses that were trying to help, the wounded. They shot him in the head and in the back.
Yeah.
And 2 disabled. Why do you shoot disabled people? What kind of threat are they? Why doesn't this story reach Americans, Don? Why I don't get it. Why don't most Americans understand this? Why do I have to explain this?
It's partly the fault of our media, because they are either cowardly or they simply take the Israeli spin. The Israeli army puts out their own press releases, and they claim that they are under attack. They reverse it. It's the blame the victim syndrome often.
Right.
And, granted, some of the kids have slingshots. They shoot stones. Some of them, maybe, I think there have been reports of Molotov cocktails, but as you say, they can't get close to where the military is, and they burn tires. Right. That is what's going on. Not a single Israeli has been wounded or injured from what the Palestinians have done. But look at over 12,000 wounded by snipers, highly trained snipers with sophisticated weaponry, and well over 250 killed. This is murder against people who are nonviolently protesting. So, but these people, it'll be a year at the end of March that they have been doing this every Friday. So hats off to them. And there really should be more support for what's going on. Right now, the American Friends Service Committee is touring a fellow, I heard him last week, my wife and I heard him, Ahed Abu Artema, and he's going around the country to tell about this march. He was the inspiration for it by posting things on his Facebook about we can almost see where our parents came from or our villages that are now taken by Israel. Let's go to that fence as close as we can get every Friday and nonviolently protest it. He studied Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, and the South African movements, and that's where his inspiration comes from, and that's what they're putting into practice, hoping the world wakes up and comes to support them. So, I think there are things in the works to try to get the word out between this UN investigation, this tour, but really, it's up to us to try to make that difference.
We have to do more. And as you know, I write for the Arab News at arabnews.com. They have a newspaper, English language. I wrote about Iyad Burnat and Ihlan Omar, and then also one big one, which doesn't have a print paper, and I think this explains why there's so much traffic. And at the Middle East Monitor, I wrote a column there. I do one every week for them. I was able to showcase Iyad Burnat's cause. But trying to get that story into the American media is almost impossible. And I was telling this one American, as I was explaining Gaza to him, I said, March 30th is an important date because in 1976, Israel took land, was going to confiscate and did confiscate land from Israeli Arab citizens. They told the non-Jews in Israel that they were going to take this land and turn it over to the Jewish heritage, and only Jews would be able to use it. So these Arab citizens, quote unquote, in Israel protested, and the Israelis, I believe, shot and killed, I think, 7 of the protesters. These are their own citizens. They say how it's a democracy. They didn't hesitate to kill the protesters because they were Arabs, and they wounded several hundred of them. So every year on March 30th, we commemorate Land Day as a way to remember that this issue is in part about people that are stealing land from Christians and Muslims. I'm Ray Hanania. On the line with me is the Reverend Donald Wagner. He's going to hang on with me for a little while longer. As we talk, we can take your phone calls in the next segment if you want at 248-557-3300, 248-557-3300. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with my guest, Reverend Donald Wagner. He's a longtime activist for Palestinian and Arab rights. Very smart. He knows the issues. I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-538-9552. That number again is 248-538-9552. And the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kashat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
انتهى الاجتماع ومحتارين هناكل فين؟
من الآخر وبدون تفكير أورشد فودز أفضل وأحسن قرار.
عنده أكلات طيبة يا ترى؟
أورشد فودز عنده أفضل تشكيلة من المحاشي والمشاوي والمقبلات والسلطات والفطاير، وكمان بتتسوق لكل احتياجات الجروسري والملحمة وغيره بأسعار خاصة بمناسبة الأعياد، والأحلى إنه بنفس المكان.
على ضمانتك أروح وأجرب.
ولو على ضمانة الشيف، وبجودة وخدمة ممتازة وسعر منافس، ولو عندك مناسبة خليها عليهم.
أورشارد فودز أند جروسري يقع على أورشارد ليك رود بين 12 و 13 مايل في مدينة فارمينغتون هيلز. رقم الهاتف 248-516-3121 248-516-3121.
وعلى رأي المثل لقمة هنية بتكفي 100.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Welcome back to the Arab Street Radio and podcast broadcast from Detroit, the greater Detroit region in Michigan on WNZK AM 690 Radio. I'm your host, Ray Hanania, and our guest this morning, a longtime activist for human rights. You know, not just for Palestinian and Arab, but for human rights in general. This guy is an American. He's religious, involved in the real Christian American community, Donald Wagner. Don, tell us a little bit about yourself, though. Let people know. And you've written several books. Tell us about the books. How do people get, your books? How do they follow you? Is there a way to follow you on social media? But you've been doing this you and I met back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Doing this stuff, and you're not even Palestinian, and yet you do so much for the fight for human rights, because human rights isn't a Palestinian cause. It's a cause everybody in America should be supporting.
Well, yeah, that's the conviction I came to. Actually, I was raised in this conservative Christianity and broke away from it, and came to realize after hearing Ibrahim Abu-Lughod.
Right. What a great guy.
A great Palestinian leader, and he was at that time chair of the political science department at Northwestern University.
Yes.
I heard his story of being driven out of Jaffa and his family losing their land, and what happened with the Nakba. I had never heard that narrative. I had a Zionist narrative in my head. We must support Israel. It's the fulfillment of Bible prophecy and all that. And it just scrambled my narrative. And I went over and saw things firsthand in 1977. I went alone. And I was with the Middle East Council of Churches, went all over Lebanon, into the refugee camps, and then down to Israel and Palestine, and just heard the stories firsthand, and that changed me. I was a minister at the time, and I decided, we need to really do something, and maybe the churches could be mobilized. And I met with our leadership, and they said, if you touch this issue, you're probably going to be blackballed from the ministry the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's no longer the case, but at that time it was, in the late 70s.
Yeah.
So I started working with the Palestine Human Rights Campaign, eventually became the director of it, and that's really how I learned. I did my doctoral dissertation on Christian Zionism, and then I wrote a book called Anxious for Armageddon that tries to break it down for the layperson on what these people believe, why it is a heresy and totally wrong, and how Christians might think about this in a more justice-oriented way. And then I taught for 15 years at an evangelical Christian university, and had a Middle East center that was very active. We brought students over from Palestine, and only 2 a year, but we gave them a full scholarship and drew others from Chicago or other areas into the university and did a great job. But I was eventually run out by a major Zionist Jewish organization because they claimed that I was anti-Semitic for what I was doing, even though I would regularly have even the Council General of Israel or other Jewish leaders speak and analyze things. So
fairness isn't what they want. They don't want both sides out.
Well, that's
when both sides are out, they lose.
Yeah,
so they want one side.
That's it. They just want to shut down legitimate discussion of the issue.
Yep.
But no regrets. I went on to have more freedom to say what I want when I became director of Friends of Sabeel, which is a Palestinian Christian organization based in Jerusalem, but we have a North American movement that's very, very active and strong. We embrace BDS, and we try to work with the churches. And I'm thrilled to say that the Presbyterian Church in 2014 in Detroit passed BDS, to boycott, and it was 3 companies, including Hewlett-Packard and Caterpillar, who are involved with the Israeli military or with the settlement projects. So it's saying we do not want to profit. For me, it's an act of Christian stewardship.
Right.
I do not want to profit from other people's suffering. So if Palestinians are losing land, and Motorola, that was another one, is complicit with the Israeli army, I'm going to boycott that product so that perhaps there will be a change and they'll pull out, and others will go and do likewise.
And that's what BDS is about. It's really about standing up to the injustice and the decision not to profit from other people's suffering. It was nice that you brought up Ibrahim Abaluga, because he's the same person who brought me into the community back in the 70s. After I finished service during the Vietnam War. I was in the military. He read a letter that I posted in a newspaper about the injustice of towards the Palestinians, and he felt I was a great speaker, because my first language was English, and he asked me if I wanted to become active with the American Congress for Palestine, and he made me their spokesman, and I went on to debate Abba Eban on television.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, fighting with Abba Eban on TV, and I beat him, I think, because I told everybody, I said, look at this guy. His real name is Aubrey Solomon, and he's an immigrant from South Africa, and he wasn't even born in Jerusalem, and my dad was born in Jerusalem, and he can't go there. How is that fair, people? And people were, I know that the host was just upset with me. Our phone number is 248-557-3300. I think we have Jerry on the line. Jerry, welcome to the Arab Street Radio.
Thank you, Mr. Ray Hanania. Good morning to you, and good morning for His Excellency, Reverend Donald Wagner. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, Jerry.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Reverend, I do respect what Ray say about you, and I believe this is an honor when he said you are an activist and religious person and you defend the human rights. It doesn't matter if the cause was Palestinian or Africa or Asia. I bet you the same feeling you had. You will defend the Christian in Iraq. You will defend Yazidi and Sabi and Mandai for what the gangster of ISIS did to those innocent people.
Yeah.
So I honor you, Reverend Donald Wagner, for being a fighter. Yes, of course, Reverend, we do love to separate the state from religion, but sometimes it's not a crime when a leader in a church expresses his feeling and he does not shut his eyes when he sees there's people, they've been hurt, persecuted. And look up Bishop Capucci in the Holy Land. He was put in prison for years and years, right?
Yes.
And he defends the right of the Palestinian people. And look at South Africa, Mr. Mandela, Mr. Gandhi, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they all defend the right, and that was not a crime. But Reverend Donald, I just want to ask you a question. Regardless, Congresswoman Ihlan Omar from Somalia, and she considered American Arab, and Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, background Palestinian, and we have Ms. Shorties in New York. I want to ask you a question, Reverend, because they are fresh Congresswomen, they are been over here since November. Do you think, Reverend, it is too early for them to clash with the Israeli lobby in the U.S. Congress? Don't you think they are pushing to do that for some agenda from the big leader like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they are trying to push those freshman congresswomen to clash with Israel. What I mean, with my respect to them, doing the dirty job, the dirty work, using them. What Reverend Donald Wagner think about it, I would appreciate, because I don't want them to be a victim like what happened 3 decades ago to a correspondent from ABC, Helen, when she said something about Jewish people coming from Europe being treated better than Jewish people from the Arab countries.
Yes.
So I would love your answer. Thank you, Reverend Donald Wagner, for being a fighter. Thank you for you, Mr. Ray Hanania, and we keep the justice. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you for the call, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank
what do you
Jerry.
think, Reverend?
Well, I don't think that Pelosi and Schumer are putting them out there. I
think they're trying to stop them.
Yeah, exactly. And they're worried that they're, maybe breaking a little bit of the unity that they would like to have at this point, as they go into a presidential election. But, I met Rashida Tlaib. My wife and I got her picture taken with her. I heard her speak. And she is really a bright, courageous person. And this is part of who she is.
Yeah.
And I think with Congresswoman Omar and Alexandria Cortez, they are people of justice, and they're going to speak out and raise some of these issues. Perhaps they need to get more people on board with them.
Right.
And they may need to do that. But I think it's great that this has happened.
Yeah, I think
really
so too. But I think Jerry's point, I think, also was that, they need to get reelected. They have to start circulating. They just were elected in November.
I was coming to that, and you can bet that AIPAC and others, they already have their opposition lined up.
Yes, they're going to pour money in it. The very money that Omar was not allowed to criticize. They're going to be pouring Benjamins into those districts. And that's where we come in.
Yeah. We need to be all out, you in Detroit. Even if you're not in that district, you need to be ready to stand with Rashida in less than 2 years, maybe in a year when this happens. We need to also be contacting our local members of Congress and our senators regularly. They say they never hear from us. AIPAC delivers packages almost every day, every other day, to give them their line. But our senators and members of Congress don't really hear from the Arab American community and the growing number of Christians and Jews who stand with us on these issues. So we really need to step up to the plate. And this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity. There's a Chinese character that, and the way it is interpreted, it has a dual meaning: danger and opportunity. It looks like a little bit of danger now to these folks, but this is an opportunity to deal with these issues. But we have to be there and, put our money there, but also contact, phone, visit, bring delegations in to let these elected members know what we believe and what is just.
We're going to take one more break, and when we come back, we'll finish off the radio show with our guest, Reverend Don Wagner, a longtime activist for Palestinian and Arab rights. I'm Ray Hanania. It is Friday, March 8th. We're going to be right back right after these messages.
تعرفوا شيء، احنا كتير بنهتم بالمقبلات بالأكل الشامي،
واحنا بنهتم بالبهارات والتسبيكة في الأكل المصري،
واحنا نهتم هواية باللحوم وجودتها بالأكل العراقي، واحنا في مطعم عشتار نهتم بيكم، اعتمدوا علينا أيا كان. نحن في عشتار نعرف أن لكل مذاق أسرار، فنحن نقدم أجود أنواع اللحوم من ملحمة عشتار الواقعة على 56865 راين رود.
عشتار، قصة حضارة ترويها لكم أطباقنا المميزة في كل زيارة.
تفضلوا بزيارتنا في 3625 East 50 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
مطعم عشتار بإدارة فادي بهنام وعلي البغدادي. 586-698-2585 586-698-2585.
The Rama Relief Foundation provides humanitarian aid into areas inside of war-torn Syria, as well as aid to the refugees who have fled to the neighboring countries in the Middle East. The foundation offers food baskets, container shipment, mental health, education, soup kitchens, and more. Go to ramarelief.org or call 248-990-4247. Any donation amount made to Rama will go to sustaining many lives. Call now 248-990-4247.
انتهى الاجتماع ومحتارين هناكل فين.
من الآخر وبدون تفكير أورشد فودز أفضل وأحسن قرار.
عنده أكلات طيبة يا ترى؟
أورشد فودز عنده أفضل تشكيلة من المحاشي والمشاوي والمقبلات والسلطات والفطاير، وكمان بتتسوق لكل احتياجات الجروسري والملحمة وغيره بأسعار خاصة بمناسبة الأعياد، والأحلى إنه بنفس المكان.
على ضمانتك أروح وأجرب،
ولو على ضمانة الشيف، وبجودة وخدمة ممتازة وسعر منافس، ولو عندك مناسبة خليها عليهم.
أورشارد فودز أند جروسري يقع على أورشارد ليك رود بين 12 و 13 مايل في مدينة فارمينغتون هيلز. رقم الهاتف 248-516-3121 248-516-3121.
وعلى رأي المثل لقمة هنية بتكفي 100.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Iyad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Iyad Nakash. See Dr. Iyad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Let's go back to the phones again at the Arab Street Radio and podcast broadcast from Detroit, Michigan on WNZK AM 690. Our guest on the line is Reverend Don Wagner, and I'm Ray Hanania. We have Atman on hold. Atman, thank you for calling.
All right, thank you. I appreciate about this. And,
thank you.
Good show. I need to use your show. You can 2-3 times a week, not just one time.
Yeah, I wish.
Something like that. We need, 2-3 times is good. Very good show.
Thank you.
I appreciate about that. Yeah, I want to comment. It's not true what the media repeat always about policy. Policy, she's great lady. She's politician. She's very smart. She's charismatic, and politics. She know what she's doing. So of course you have your enemy everywhere. If you very clear or you're honest. Yeah, policy. She say great ladies, great speaker. So, but I'm not agree what he says because that like Omar, Congressman, and Rashida, he says this. No, yesterday, for example, and NBC News. If you see the Congress is, I think she's the lady, she's named Jane Konsky or something like that. She's from Chicago. She supports Omar. Yeah, she's NBC or CNBC or something like yesterday. So she had the other way, the second Congress is from South Carolina too. He supports Omar. He says this is not discrimination. She's talking about human rights. Everybody he knows that. Last week and European also declared this. He said this is disaster. What the world is looking, what happened to Palestinians about his human rights. So here I'm repeat again. So this is not sure what all the media he repeats. Policy. This is because behind this is politics, and this is not true. I think if this is the real. Something real. Just like this is my comment, and thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you calling in and commenting. I wish we had the show on every week, Don. That would be great. But like you, I mean, they targeted anybody who stands up for justice against a foreign country like Israel is going to be brutalized and persecuted, and I think we all go through that. I don't have a radio show partly because of that, and I'm not at the Sun-Times specifically because of wanting to get the Intifada story out back in the 1990s. Don, we only got a couple minutes left, but I want to remind everybody that April is Arab American Heritage Month, In Illinois, it's law. There are 9 other states around the country that are celebrating Arab American Heritage Month. And everybody, I know Michigan is doing some stuff too. So we should kind of use this as an opportunity to get our story out. All the Arab stories, Syria, Palestinians, everybody, Lebanese, Egyptian, Jordanian, not just the Palestinian, but all of the stories, because we can be a strong voice. Any final comments from you, Don, before we thank you?
Yeah, just a couple. First, I want to thank you, Ray, for all your work through the years and this show, but also your writing. You're doing your part, and I want to thank you for that. My wife and I, she's Palestinian, we're sitting right here together, and Sunday night we heard Mark Lamont Hill, who was fired from CNN recently, an African American. And one of his comments was, I'm going to be there for you guys, for Palestine, for the other Arab issues, until we reach justice. But when my issues come out, when I'm struggling with police brutality and other issues, I really need you to come out with me. And I think this is a comment that we really need. It'll be a good one to close with. These issues are what we call intersectional, and they revolve around justice. And now we have a movement. We see it with these new members of Congress, African American and Palestinian American, Somali, Hispanic. We have a common ground here on working for justice and changing the narrative in this country. And we've been through a rough time in the past 2 years. I don't know how people feel, but I have a real problem with the lack of the rule of law that's being enforced by the president and many others.
Right.
But this is an opportunity to rise up and take back democracy, equality, and justice. And I think we really now have to be there and not be so complacent. Get informed politically, but get active in your community and get active with your senators and members of the House. So that's my appeal, to work intersectionally, black, brown, yellow, but work for justice and stand there for each other, and we need to turn this whole ship around. And then I have one final comment. We mentioned Christian Zionism.
Yes.
There's an excellent website, www.christianzionism.org, written by evangelicals, but critical of Christian Zionism. And it's very educational, so listeners can go to that and walk through it in no time and really be up to speed. So
all right,
thanks,
ChristianZionism.org.
Great to be with you.
We will check that out. Don, what was the name of your book again, and can people order it online if they go online to like Amazon and stuff like that?
I think Amazon still has Anxious for Armageddon.
Okay.
And there's another one, Zionism and the Quest for Justice in the Holy Land.
Cool. Very good. My guest on the line, Don Wagner. Don, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. It's people like you who take the time to share their knowledge and experiences with the audience. It helps educate them, and it spreads, the good word to everybody so that we can be effective and do the right thing. So thank you for also hooking me up with Iyad Burnat. Hopefully some of the writing might help what he's trying to do. I hope it does. But we just got to keep trying. Thank you so much, Don.
Thanks for the opportunity, Ray.
You're welcome. You have a great day. This is the Arab Street Radio and Podcast. I'm Ray Hanania, thanking everybody for listening. I'm going to be back next Friday, 8 o'clock in Detroit time, 7 a.m. in Chicago, 3 p.m. in occupied Jerusalem time. So you want to tune in, and we'll be talking about more issues. You have a great day. Mike, our producer, thank you so much for doing this. We'll talk to you again, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a great week.